and that is Jesse Kelly, my friend.
Thank you for having me safe.
That was the intro last night. Tucker Carlson Live happened in Rosenberg, Texas. I was the guest of honor, the headliner. I guess Tucker was probably the headliner, but it was an amazing time. It was so great being with just the people, just hanging out, talking politics, and it sure seemed like they enjoyed it.
It's because the dirty demons who want to hurt you lay awake at night dreaming about it, and they are so mad that they can't, because we are the most armed freaking people on the planet. We have the guns, we have the ammo, and that's why they're mad. These commies are always trying, you see it with every Democrat who talks today, they're always trying to straddle this line, which is really Kamala Harris' specialty given her beginning. But she's, what? This state should already right now, they should already be reorienting the state police, Texas Rangers, to stand as a bulwark between Texans and the federal government that is evil. They already should be doing that. But instead, we have John freaking Cornyn as a senator. We have a primary voter problem because the reddest states, they are sending the most putrid losers to Washington, D.C. John Thune, John Cornyn, Mitch McConnell, what is that, James Lankford, Naked Ken Doll Lankford out of Oklahoma. These people are from our reddest states.
Wait, what did you call him?
Naked Ken Doll. Have you ever seen a Naked Ken Doll? There's nothing there.
So, no, I'm not bragging. I've never taken off Ken's pants, but it's just...
Well, believe me, that's what you're going to find if you ever disrobe James. But the point
I'm
is...
I'm stealing that.
It was a good time. And look, obviously there were laughs to be had, as you can see. There was plenty of serious talk as well.
Do you feel any hope? And if so, why?
Oh, we're going to win. We're going to win. I know that you're afraid. I get afraid. I know you're sad. I'm sad. I love this place, right? I would die for it. It hurts watching these people tear it up. I know it hurts, but I'm here to tell you something. They're more afraid than you are. They're afraid we're going to wake up. They're afraid we're going to get involved. They're afraid we're going to go to their little fiefdoms of power at the local library or Congress or the school board, wherever it is, and take their power away from them. They're afraid of you speaking the way you want to speak on social media. They're afraid of the fact that your guns, the demons are more afraid of you than you are of them. The darkness is afraid of the light. The light does not fear the darkness. And they should be afraid. I want to make sure I'm very crystal clear about that, and you can clip it all day long, you commie scumbags. Come knock on my freaking door. They should be afraid, because as I mentioned in the beginning, they are wrong. They are evil. What they want is awful for this country. What you want is wonderful and good. We want a country surrounded by family and community, a country led by God and decent people. We want to be led by people who are better than what we have now. And if we stand up, and I see it happening everywhere, we can have that. It is time to stop being afraid like you are and like I am, and it is time to start making them afraid. Good guys don't get afraid. They need to be ones that are afraid of us, and we can do that.
There's a new sheriff in town, ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Kelly. Thank you.
Pretty fun. All right. You know what else is fun? Interest rate cuts. We got to cut in the interest rates. That's a good thing, right? Right? I don't know. Let's ask Carol. Joining me now, Carol Roth. I just mentioned her because I need to know what I'm supposed to make of an interest rate cut. Carol, that you have educated us so many times. By the way, everyone, Carol Roth, author of so many books. Her book, You Will Own Nothing, is one you really should be picking up right now. But Carol, you've educated us on finances, on interest rates, on inflation so many times. So I was confused. Inflation is still bad. Why are they cutting interest rates? Because it was always my understanding that interest rates have to go up or stay up to try to keep inflation down. What am I missing, Carol?
What you're missing, Jesse, is that Jerome Powell is unburdened by what has been. And now we are in a rate cutting environment. Listen, he has a quote unquote dual mandate. One side, he's trying to keep inflation from getting too high. Obviously, has done a piss poor job with that. The other side, trying to keep the labor market steady and the economy from cracking. So theoretically, has kind of done an okay job with that, except for the fact that we know all of the jobs numbers are, made up out of thin air. So I have thought all along that we have had interest rates that are too high and that he has been behind the curve in terms of bringing them down. That being said, when you have out of the blue a 50 basis point cut, it does create a signal. And the signal could be interpreted, particularly given this dual mandate, that he is now less concerned about the growth of inflation, not inflation, because we know cumulatively that's been terrible, but he is less concerned about that, or at least being able to impact that. Because as I said, I don't think his policies really impacted that. It's come from other factors. But he is very concerned, potentially, even though he told us the economy is great. But, the telegraphing is that he is concerned about what could be happening in the jobs market and what that means for the economy. And if you think about what's been happening with some of the white collar jobs in particular, we have seen more layoffs coming from the tech industry. We've seen Amazon saying everybody has to come back to the office 5 days a week. That's a big leverage shift. It used to be that the labor markets, the jobs, the workers, they could dictate, no, we just feel like coming in, 1 day a week or not at all. Now that leverage has turned. And if you read that press release from Amazon, they also said they're looking to get rid of some managers. So the people who have been propping up the economy while the middle class has been struggling to pay for their food and pay for their rent, now we're seeing more layoffs. We're seeing some potential weakness there. And so I do think that is what is being telegraphed here, even though he told us that he feels like the economy is strong.
Okay, so are we going to see inflation, or do you think we're going to see inflation skyrocket now that they're cutting these rates? If they're cutting them to benefit Amazon or whoever they're cutting them for, whatever reason, isn't that going to make inflation worse?
So there are two parts of this question. One is what's going to happen to inflation, and is it related to what the Fed has done? Will we likely see inflation tick up again? Absolutely. And that's because of the government debts and deficits and the fact that we will probably down the line have to monetize those. So do I expect we will see an uptick in inflation at some point? Yes. Do I think that cutting 50 basis points, going from above 5% to 4 3/4 to 5%, is going to unleash inflation? Not in this context. And the context that we have is we have very high interest rates. We had 15 years where people had basically zero or near zero interest rates, where they could take on a lot of debt individually or for their companies. So is there going to be massive demand that is unleashed now that the Fed funds rate is at 4.75 to 5? I don't think that's going to happen. It is above something that we call the neutral rate. The neutral rate, which is theoretical, we don't know exactly what it is, but the neutral rate is that dividing line between tight policy and accommodative policy, and it basically signifies that the Fed's policy does neither. It's neutral, so to speak. So I think we are far enough above that neutral rate to not have that create an impact on inflation. That being said, this is kicking off a cycle. This is not a one and done as far as they're projecting. We're seeing potentially another 0.5% coming in the next 2 meetings, maybe another 1% next year. So to the extent that they do keep lowering the rates and they go past that neutral rate into accommodative territory, and again, nobody knows what it is. They're just guessing like with everything else. That's when you can see the inflation rate ignite. So we're probably not seeing it based on these actions, but it kicks off that chain of future actions that we have to keep our eye on.
Carol, I've only got about a minute left, but I had to ask, do you think this is a political decision? As soon as I saw it, that was my first suspicion, right? But I don't want to make that accusation without hearing from Carol Roth. Was this about the election?
So it's certainly the optics of it are not great to have, right before the election, the last Fed meeting, a 50 basis point cut. That being said, it depends on how you read the signal. And I guarantee you what team you're on is going to be depending on how you read the signal. If you're in Kamala Harris's camp, you're going to say, see, inflation is under control. The Fed feels confident about it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given us this cut. However, if you are in Trump's camp, you're going to say, well, the only thing the Biden administration has said, the Biden-Harris administration has touted, is that they've done so great with jobs. And oh no, now the Fed is concerned about jobs and they have to start lowering rates in order to preempt the economy if we're completely turning over. So politically, you could interpret it that either way. And I'm certain that you will see it interpreted both ways.
Yeah, I'm certain you're right. Carol, thank you, ma'am. As always, I appreciate you.
It's a pleasure.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.